Hello, and welcome to my kitchen in rural Washington state. If you will indulge me for a few moments, please picture yourself stepping into a country farm kitchen where the scent of freshly baked bread fills the air, invoking a sense of history, community, and the timeless tradition of breaking bread together. As a teacher specializing in baking, I bring a wealth of knowledge and insights to help remove the fear of baking. Tried and true techniques with a knowledge of ingredients and methods, and the cultural significance of modern bread baking. Through collaboration with renowned experts in the field, hands-on experiments to recreate authentic recipes, and a passion for preserving and sharing culinary heritage, I ensure that the information presented is accurate and engaging in exploring the role of bread in American history. This tutorial on early colonial bread will delve into the history of bread and its ingredients, offering a comprehensive understanding of this essential staple from early American history. Now, to delve into the history of early colonial bread, here is a quote from the book Good Bread is Back, a contemporary history of French bread, the way it's made. Quote, before it was a pleasure, bread was a matter of survival, and for some, spiritual salvation, providing for some a daily symbol of misery and dependence more than of well-being and transcendence. According to the article, Back to Home-Baked Bread in the Saturday Evening Post, when European settlers arrived on this continent, they had never encountered corn. However, through the generosity of the Native Americans, they found ways to make corn taste good to themselves. Even when they encountered challenges, like their first attempts at growing wheat, barley, oats, and even rye, failing because of the unfamiliar soil, climate, and precipitation. Many years of planting and harvests came and went before their old world crops began to thrive. In the meantime, the Indians taught them to make corn cakes and bake them in the ashes of fires, ash cakes, or on the blade of a hoe, hoe cakes. American breads became more varied when European grains finally took hold in the 18th century. Colonists combined corn with European grains to make Boston brown bread, edamame bread, and many rye-based corn breads. In the book, The History Cook, the English Bread Book, quote, the humble loaf is the first necessity of life to the great mass of the English people, and it is not unusual for the entire earnings of a poor hardworking man to be expended on bread only for himself and his family. But we're here today to learn about early colonial bread, both historical and modern versions of a loaf of cornmeal and molasses bread, containing similar accompanying ingredients to accomplish a tasty and sliceable loaf. Remember that basic bread can be distilled down to basic fundamental techniques. It's the same in every loaf. Mix bread and flour, shape, and bake. Early colonial bread, sometimes known as edamame bread, is as fundamental as mixing flour and water, shaping, and baking, except we add a few more tasty elements to improve a classic. Recipes include varying measurements of ingredients. Some add elements to the recipe, milk for instance, while others use substitutions like oil instead of butter. Not one of these alterations is wrong. I recommend that you make several versions, try the substitutions, and see your skills blossom. Now, I want to talk about traditional bread making tools used in the 18th century, one of which is the Danish dough whisk. Today, we're going to use our electric mixer in its place. Next would be a dough trencher. So this is a product that they would actually mix the dough as well as knead the dough in. Obviously, we're going to use our electric mixer as well. Next would actually be the brick or the daub oven. Here's an image of a brick oven here. Today, we're going to use a modern gas convection oven. So far we have learned that bread was an essential survival tool in American early years. It provided affordable calories that could be combined with more expensive meat, fruit, or even vegetables. Now, let's take a moment to highlight the individual ingredients that we will be using today. The first of which is molasses. Now, molasses is a mineral-rich byproduct of refining cane sugar and sugar beets into sugar. It can be found in most any grocery store today. Until the 1800s, molasses was the most popular sweetener in the United States because it was much cheaper than refined sugar. Next, we have cornmeal and yeast. I use polenta. Polenta because it's a larger, coarser grain of cornmeal. Interestingly, according to the Book of History and Bread in America, in 1492, Christopher Columbus brought a small crock of yeasty sourdough starter to the New World. Today, we're just using dry yeast. Finally, we have the flour. White wheat flour is produced through the milling process. The grain and germ layers are removed from the wheat berry during milling, creating a fine, lightened final product. Often, the flour is then chemically bleached to enhance its whiteness. The bread flour we are utilizing today is an organic, unbleached, refined wheat flour that has the bran and germ removed, but is higher in protein than all-purpose flour, offering it a stronger gluten consistency. Another interesting tidbit to know is before modern industrialization, white flour was unaffordable to the common man due to the extreme labor costs of removing the darker bran and germ from wheat berries. Now that we know more about the ingredients we are using today, let me show you how to combine them to create our delicious early colonial bread. First, we're going to combine cornmeal, boiling water, butter, salt, and molasses into the mixer bowl, which I have done here. We're going to mix and allow this to cool for approximately 20 to 30 minutes. Next, we're going to combine the yeast and warm water in a separate bowl and allow it to proof. It gets sort of puffy and poofy. Okay, so next we're going to combine the yeast mixture into the mixing bowl, like so. Okay, next we're going to pour in the bread flour. Now, once the cornmeal mix has cooled and the yeast has been added, as long as it's a cool enough temperature, we don't have to worry about it killing the yeast. So now we're going to add the majority of the flour. I save approximately 1 cup till the end in order to not overmix with my mixer. On just long enough to mix and then set my timer for 10 minutes. After it is kneaded for 10 minutes, I will remove the dough hook and cover the bowl with plastic wrap and let it rise in the mixer bowl until doubled in size, approximately 30 to 45 minutes. I remove the risen dough from the mixer bowl, divide it and shape it into loaves with wet hands. I let it rise again until doubled, approximately 1.5 to 2 hours. Finally, when the dough has risen and it is domed on the top of the loaf pan, I will bake until golden brown at 375 for approximately 30 to 40 minutes. Remove it from the oven and place it directly onto a cooling rack. Make sure that you let your bread cool to room temperature before slicing and then slather it with butter. This tutorial on early colonial bread has taken us on a journey from the history of bread and its ingredients. We have explored the historical roots of early colonial bread, uncovered unique ingredients like cornmeal and molasses, and recreated a loaf of bread that has been enjoyed since the 18th century. Through this exploration, we have learned about the simplicity of bread making and enhanced the loaf's rich history and embraced the loaf's rich history and cultural heritage. In my journey as a bread baker, I've delved deep into the historical traditions and recipes that connect us to our past, invoking feelings in me of nostalgia and preservation of our culinary heritage. Through hands-on experiments, collaboration with experts, and a passion for sharing knowledge, I have enjoyed exploring the pivotal role of bread in American history with you. From the traditional significance of ingredients like cornmeal and molasses to the cultural impact of the bread making. Thank you for joining me on this sensory journey back in time as we knead, bake, and savor the flavors of early colonial bread, a true embodiment of our culinary roots. Let us carry forward this newfound knowledge and appreciation for earlier colonial bread, ensuring that the traditions and flavors of the past continue to thrive for generations. Thank you.